Hi, my name is Beth. I'm from the Somerset County Library, and along with CareerLink, we have put together this digital literacy series to help people learn the skills that they need for work or for their personal lives. And today we are going to be talking about PowerPoint. And I figured the best way to do a presentation on PowerPoint was to do a PowerPoint presentation. So let me get my presentation started here. So PowerPoint is a presentation program that allows you to create dynamic slide presentations. Those presentations can include animation, narration, images, video, and much more. And while we won't be able to get into all of the features that are available through PowerPoint, we will be able to help you get started with using PowerPoint. And then you'll be able to explore and learn more on your own. And I will give you a website address at the end of the presentation for GCF Learn Free, and we'll see many of their videos during this presentation. So when you first open PowerPoint, this is what you'll see, the PowerPoint start screen. Of course, yours won't be a big blur on this side, but you'll see you have the option to start with a blank presentation, or you can use one of the templates that are already available to you. You also can access your recently edited presentations over on the left-hand side here. And as with all the other Microsoft applications, if there's a presentation that you're working on and you want to make sure it stays at the top of your list so you can find it easily, just hover over that file name and a little thumbtack will appear. Click on that thumbtack and it'll pin that file to the top of your list. So let's talk about the ribbon. The ribbon at the top will look very familiar to other Microsoft Office programs. If you are having trouble finding the command that you want, you can use the Tell Me feature. And I love that feature because sometimes, especially if you're not using the program all the time, it's like, I know I can do this. Where is it? Just, it works just like a regular search bar. Type what you are looking for, and a list of options will appear. You can then use the command directly from the menu without having to find it on the ribbon. But let's take a look at the ribbon. And you will see that the ribbon is made up of the File tab. And that tab has the commands for saving or printing files. Next you have the Home tab, which is essential for a user. Here you can cut, copy, create a new slide, format text. Pretty much everything starts out with the Home tab. The Insert tab is where a user can add pictures, shapes, audio, and video. Then we have the Design tab. And this tab is for changing the look of your presentation, such as layout, size, colors. The themes are located there. The Transitions tab is one of the most fun features on PowerPoint, and this is where you can add graphical effects for opening, closings, and when you're changing topics during your PowerPoint presentation. Animations is another very cool tab, and that is what we're using on this slide actually. And this tab allows a user to take any object, shape, picture, text, etc., and make it move in almost any way you can think of. And we have the slideshow tab. This is for fine-tuning your presentation. You can hide slides from your audience, practice giving the presentation, and set up what kind of screen your PowerPoint will be shown on, whether it's a monitor, TV, projector, etc. The Review tab is just another fine-tuning tab where users can spell check their work, use a thesaurus, and translate PowerPoint into another language even. You have the View tab, and as the name implies, the tab is for viewing your presentation in different ways. It's a great tab for organizing your PowerPoint to get the correct flow of your presentation. And then you have your slide viewer over on the left-hand side. And that is where you will see all of your slides in order. And you can even change the order of the slides over in the slide viewer if you wanted to. And then, of course, we have the slide window, and this is where you'll be doing your work. So every slide that you create will be created in this window, and any changes you make will be made in this window. And then, of course, we have the zoom in and out bar, and that can make it easier if you're working on text or a table, a graph or something, and you need a better view of what you're working on. You can zoom in or you can zoom out to see the overall effect of what you're doing. And we'll get into a little bit more detail about some of these tabs as we go along here. So saving your presentation, and every class I do, no matter what type of program we're using, I always say save your work as soon as it's important to save your work as soon as you start making a new project. If you make any changes, save frequently. That way, if something should happen, your work will be there. If you lose power, the computer crashes, at least you'll have your work will be saved. And as it shows on this slide here, saving early and often can prevent your work from being lost. You'll also need to pay close attention to where you save the presentation so you will be able to find it later. So make sure you put it in a file where you'll be easily able to find it later. So a lot of times I'll save something to the desktop and then file it into a folder later on. You can save your files to your computer. You can save them to the cloud using OneDrive. And one of the great things about using OneDrive is that you'll be able to access that file from any computer you're at, no matter where you are. You don't have to worry about losing a thumb drive or your computer crashing. And you can also export and share presentations directly from PowerPoint. PowerPoint does automatically save your presentations to a temporary folder while you are working on them. So if you do forget to save your changes or if PowerPoint crashes, you can restore the file using Auto Recover. And these are different types of ways that you can save your presentation. For the PowerPoint presentation itself, if you're presenting it as a slide, the way that most PowerPoint presentations are presented, will be saved as a PPTX file. However, there may be times where if you want to create a physical document of your work, or if you want to have handouts to be able to give to the people that you're presenting your presentation to, you would want to be able to save your presentation as a PDF. You can also save it as PowerPoint 97 2003 presentation if the person that you're sending it to or the computer that you'll be using doesn't have an updated PowerPoint program available for you to use. You can save your PowerPoint presentation as a video. You can package it for a CD, and that means that it'll save the presentation along with the Microsoft PowerPoint viewer so that anyone can watch the presentation. And as I said, you can save handouts, which will give a handout version of your slides. So let's start with some slide basics. We'll have to learn how to insert slides, changing the layout of a slide, arranging existing slides, changing the slide view, and adding notes to your slide. So PowerPoint presentations can contain as many slides as you need. The slide navigation pane on the left-hand side of the screen makes it easy to organize your slides, and from there you can duplicate, rearrange, and delete slides in your presentations. So let's watch this video on slide basics. And usually as I'm presenting a class, I have the students work along with the presentation so they can get a feel for how it works themselves.
Goodwill Community Foundation, creating opportunities for a better life.
I've been working with a local animal rescue, and I think a PowerPoint presentation is just what we need to showcase some information about their adoptable pets. But how do we get from this to a presentation that looks like this? The key is understanding how slides, layouts, and placeholders work. Let's take a look at placeholders first. When you start with a new slide, it'll usually contain one or more placeholders. Placeholders can contain text, pictures, charts, and all kinds of different objects. To find out what you can do with a placeholder, just hover over the icons here, or simply click and start typing to add text. The arrangement of these placeholders is controlled by the slide layout. This layout happens to include one placeholder for the title and two more for content. You can choose your layout when you first insert a slide, or you can change it later depending on the type of content you're working with. To insert a new slide, look to the New Slide command on the Home tab. You can use the top half to add a slide in the same layout as the one that's currently selected, or use the bottom half to open the menu, and choose the exact layout you want. You can even insert a blank slide and add your own text boxes and objects later. Changing the current layout is just as easy. All you have to do is click the Layout command and make a new selection from the menu. This time we're going to choose the section header layout. At this point, instead of inserting more placeholder slides, I'd like to try copying and pasting some of the slides I've already created. This can really save you time when the slides you need are so similar to the ones you already have. Just select the slide you want to copy, then click the Copy command on the Home tab, or press Ctrl-C on your keyboard. Next, click in between or below the slide where you want the copy to appear. Then go back to the ribbon and click Paste. Alternatively, you could press Ctrl-V on your keyboard. And you can paste as many copies as you need. Now that I have these copies to use as a sort of template, I no longer need those two content slides that we started with. So I'm going to delete each slide by selecting it, and then pressing Backspace or Delete on my keyboard. I'm also going to move this section header so it appears a little later in the presentation. To do this, click and hold the thumbnail, then just drag and drop it into place. Now we're going to take a closer look at this slide itself, along with some ways that you can customize it. The important thing to remember is that nothing is set in stone here. You can always adjust your layout and change the look of your slides any way you want. To delete a placeholder, for example, all you have to do is select it, then press backspace or delete on your keyboard. Placeholders can also be moved using the drag and drop method, and resized using any of the sizing handles here. And let's just add some text here before we continue. Of course, if you need to add an additional text box to your slide, there's a way to do that too. This can come in handy when you're working with a blank slide or with a presentation that's already been highly customized. Just go to the Insert tab, select the text box command. Now you can click and drag to add a text box anywhere you want. You'll want to be careful not to change too much though, especially depending on your level of design experience. If you stray too far from the built-in layouts, it can be difficult to get your presentation looking consistent. Sometimes it may be better to try a different slide layout instead. In other words, one that already has the content arranged the way you want. Or you could choose a different theme using the options on the Design tab. Here's how they work. All you have to do is hover over the thumbnails for a preview. As you can see, each theme uses a slightly different layout, so you can easily try out different designs and change the look of your slides without moving or deleting any placeholders. I think I'm going to go with this one. Yeah, that looks really good. There are still a couple more features on the Design tab that'll let you customize your slides. For example, right, you can change or format your current slide background. You can also adjust the size and dimensions of your presentation if you're not using a widescreen monitor. Okay, now you know how to work with slides, placeholders, and layouts, including a few simple tricks for changing your presentation's design.
Okay, so one thing to remember is placeholders versus text boxes. Text can be inserted in both placeholders and text boxes. However, unlike placeholders, text boxes always stay in the same place even when you change your theme. So that's something to keep in mind while you're designing your slide. And with managing your slides, the slide view commands are located in the bottom right-hand corner of the PowerPoint window, down in this corner here. And there are 4 main slide views. The normal view, which is the default view, where you can create and edit slides. You can also move slides in the slide navigation pane on the left. The slide sorter view, which is right next to it. In this view, you'll see a thumbnail version of each of your slides, and you can easily drag and drop your slides in order to rearrange them quickly. The reading view, which is right there, fills the window with a preview of your presentation. And then the next icon that looks like a movie screen, that's the slideshow view. And that is used to present your presentation to an audience. You can also press the function key F5 to start your presentation from the beginning. Okay, so pictures can make your presentation a little bit more interesting, especially if you have a lot of text there, and after a while just looking at text can get a little boring. So let's watch this video and we'll see how we can insert text into
So
our
I'm almost finished with this
PowerPoint
presentation.
presentations.
I've typed in everything I need to share about the company's new wellness program, but I'd like to add some pictures to make my slides look a little more interesting. It's easy to insert a picture using the placeholders on your slides. All you have to do is click this icon. However, there are a few other ways to add an image, even if your slide doesn't have a placeholder like this. It all starts with the Insert tab. I already know what picture I want to use for this slide, and I have it saved to my computer. That means I can use Command to locate the image and insert it. The picture will appear on the slide. To move this picture while it's still selected, I'm just going to click and drag where we have plenty of room over here. Now let's take a look at the next slide. I don't really have an image in mind for this part of the presentation, but PowerPoint does have some built-in options we can use. Just go back to the Insert tab and click the Online Pictures command. From here, you can use Bing to search the web for stock photos, clip art, and other graphics. Or you can access images from your OneDrive account if you have any stored there. You can also just browse the image categories if you need any ideas. Let's try a web search. Just type your search term in the box, then press Enter on your keyboard. By default, Bing only shows images that are licensed under Creative Commons, which means it's okay to use them in your own projects. Just to be safe, though, you should check the image's website to make sure there aren't any restrictions. To find that website, click the icon in the bottom right corner of an image and follow the link you see here. This image looks good. To insert it, I'm going to click the thumbnail, then the Insert button, and the image will appear on the slide. This picture is a little big, but that's an easy fix. To change the size of an image, all you have to do is click and drag the sizing handles here. I'd recommend using the ones in the corner to make sure your image stays in proportion. I'm also going to move it just a bit. And to make it look a little neater, I'm going to use the rotation handle at the top to rotate it. There we go, that looks great. On my next slide, the picture I want to add is a bit more unique. I'm going to use a screenshot. A screenshot is an image of whatever is currently displayed on your screen. For example, I found a website that teaches different aspects of health and wellness, and I'd like to include a picture of it in the presentation. Let's go back to PowerPoint, and then Insert, and then Screenshot to take a look at our options. I have two different windows open right now, including an Excel spreadsheet and the website I want to capture. Just click the window you want to take a screenshot of, and now we have a picture of the window on this slide. This isn't exactly what I wanted though. This screenshot includes other parts of my browser, like the navigation buttons and the status bar. I'd like to see if we can take a picture of just the different topics in the middle. First, I'm going to delete this image by selecting it and pressing Backspace or Delete on my keyboard. Now I'll go to Insert, then Screenshot, and this time I'll select Screen Clipping. This will let us capture part of the page instead of the entire window. We'll also use the same technique we used to draw text boxes. Just click and drag to draw a box around the part of the image you want to capture. The screen capture will then appear on the slide. Resize and reposition the picture if you need to. And there we go. Whether you're working with photos that are already on your computer, online images, or even a simple screenshot, the right pictures can help make your presentations a lot more interesting. GCF.
In addition to using pictures, you could also use what they call smart art. And this is an example of smart art. Smart art allows you to communicate information with graphics instead of using just text. So in this example here, I'm demonstrating the recycling process. So you would use something, recycle it, reuse, use, recycle, reuse. So you're not having to keep saying that, and just like the image is there and people get the idea. And here I'm using an arrow to get my point across. That smart art can help you illustrate your ideas. Okay, tables are another tool that you that you can use to display information. A table is a grid of cells arranged in rows and columns, and tables are a great way to present numerical data. So I have my example here of some programs that we have at the library, and maybe I'm keeping track of the attendance. So let's watch this video to see how to work with tables.
Goodwill Community Foundation, creating opportunities for a better life.
Using regular text to create your slides is fine in most cases, but for something that requires more organization, you might want to try a table instead. This will let you enter your text in columns and rows instead of lines or paragraphs. To create a table, go to the Insert tab, click the Table command, then mouse over the grid to select the number of cells you want. My table is going to be pretty big, 6 rows by 6 columns. Now click, and that's all it takes. You might need to move your table to get it in the right place on the slide. To move your table, just place your cursor on the edge, click and drag, and then let go. To change the size, use the sizing handles here. Now we can enter some of our text. All you have to do is click the cell you want, then go ahead and start typing. You can also use the Tab key or the arrow keys to navigate. Right now, I'm using the down arrow to make my way down this first column. Adding more columns and rows to a table is easy. I'd like to try inserting one under the row that starts with mystery. To do this, go up to the Layout tab, then look for the options in the Rows and Columns group. Here you can insert a row above or below your current position, or a column to the left or right. To delete a row or column, the steps are fairly similar. First, place your cursor in one of your cells, then click the command that says Delete. In this example, we're going to delete the row. Let's fast forward to the finished table. Now that the data is filled in, I thought we'd take a closer look at the Layout tab, which appears anytime you have your table selected. The first thing I'd like to do is make the table a little bigger. But instead of relying on the cells, I'm going to adjust the height of my current cell here, then click Distribute Rows to make the rows even again. Next, we're going to click the edge of the table to select the entire thing, and then change the text alignment using the commands in the Alignment group. I think centered looks best. Finally, I'd like to combine these two cells into one, also known as merging. This option is useful if your table has data that spans several different rows or columns. All you have to do is select the cells you want, then click the Merge Cells command. So this is looking pretty good. I think I'd like to change some of the formatting now, including the colors and borders. We can do that using the options on the Design tab. Notice how the table has a gray color scheme that matches the text on the slide? That's no accident. Basically, the table is already using a table style that's designed to go with the current theme. To check out other styles, open the drop-down menu. You can also customize the way your table is laid out using the table style options here. These let you control things like special formatting in the first column, and also the header row. These will all have a different effect depending on your current table style, so you might need to experiment to get the look you want. You may have noticed that this table doesn't have borders between most of the cells. To add or change the border, just select the cells you want to modify, then look to the Draw Borders group. Here you can select a line style, line weight, and also a color for your border. When you're ready, click the drop-down arrow next to the Borders command. Then choose where you want the border to go. I want mine to go on the inside, which will place the border between the cells. As you can see, there are lots of ways to use and customize tables in PowerPoint. They can make your data easier to understand and also add a little extra something to your presentation.
Okay, so tables are one way of presenting information. Another way that you could present information is through a chart. And sometimes it's easier to visualize information than it is to try to communicate it. So let's see how we add charts to our PowerPoint presentations.
Goodwill Community Foundation, creating opportunities for a better life.
When working with numerical data in PowerPoint, sometimes a chart is just what you need to show the meaning behind the numbers. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the different types of charts, and also some ways that you can customize them to best represent your data. Column charts are good all-around charts. They work with many different types of data. Whereas line charts are best for showing trends over time. Pie charts are unique because they let you see your data in proportion instead of on a graph. We also have the bar chart, which is basically just a column chart turned on its side. And finally, area charts, which are similar to line charts, except the areas under the lines are filled in. To create a chart, go to the Insert tab, then click the Chart command, and a list of choices will appear. I think I'll start with something in the column category. This one looks nice and simple. Click OK, and then something interesting happens. PowerPoint will open a spreadsheet, similar to what you'll find in Excel, where you can start entering your data. All you have to do is type your information over the placeholder text, and PowerPoint will update the chart in your presentation. Now we just need to fill in our sales figures. We are going to be covering the last 5 months, January to May. Anything you want to include in your chart has to be inside this little blue box. But don't worry, it'll expand automatically as you type. Next, to save some time, we're going to copy and paste the rest of the data from an existing worksheet in Excel. This option is great if you already have your data recorded elsewhere. All you have to do is go to the worksheet in Excel and copy the data you want to use. Next, go back to your presentation and paste it here by pressing Ctrl-V on your keyboard. And PowerPoint will update the chart automatically. When you're done, click the X to close the spreadsheet window. You can also give your chart a title if you want. To go back to the chart and make any changes or corrections, click the Edit Data command on the Design tab, and the window will open again. Charts are designed to help you illustrate your point, just like the illustrations in a book. Therefore, things like color, layout, and chart type really do matter. For example, right now the columns are grouped by genre, but I'm more interested in taking a look at trends over time. That means we need to group the data by month instead. Luckily, we don't have to start over. Just make sure you have the Edit Data window open. Then click the chart to select it. Next, click the command that says Switch Row Column. And that's all it takes. See how the chart has been rearranged? Basically, the months and the genres have switched places. You can always experiment with this to see which option is going to work best. If you want to try a different chart altogether, click the Change Chart Type command on the far right of the tab. Then pick something else from the dialog box. I think I'll go with a line chart this time. If you want, you can change the chart style to give your chart a different look. As you can see, you have several different options to choose from. You can also change the chart layout itself. Just go to the Quick Layout command and make a selection from the menu. Not all of these options will work for the data you're working with. Just keep going until you find something you like. Why don't we go with something like this? You can make further adjustments using the Chart Elements shortcut. It's the one with the plus sign. Here you can add or remove elements from your chart depending on your preferences. Or you can click the arrow to the right to access even more options. Charts are a great choice for presenting numerical data in PowerPoint, and also enhancing your presentations. With so many design options to choose from, you can achieve exactly the look you want.
And as I'm sure you're aware, this presentation that you've been watching has videos inserted into the slides. And inserting videos into a slide is a great way to be able to insert information that needs to be demonstrated. So rather than having multiple slides with steps by step by step by step, you can have one slide that has all the steps and just show the video. So we are going to watch now inserting a video into our presentation.
Goodwill Community Foundation, creating opportunities for a better life.
Sometimes you may have a video that you want to play during your presentation. Well, the good news is you can add the video directly to one of your slides, so you can share it with the audience without having to leave PowerPoint. To get started, go to the Insert tab, then look for the Video command on the far right of the ribbon. From here, you can insert a video from the web or one that's saved to your computer. In this example, we're going to choose the second option. Next, select the file you want, then click the Insert button, and the video will be added to your presentation. If the file size is very large, it might take a minute to finish uploading. Just like pictures, videos can be moved and resized any way you want. You can use the sizing handles on the sides or in the corners, and then just drag and drop. To preview the video, click the play button here, and the timeline to the right will start advancing. If you want to jump to a different spot in the video, click anywhere in the timeline. Let's go ahead and pause for a second, so we can take a look at some of the options on the Playback tab. Here you can control things that have to do with the way your video is played. You can even do some simple editing. Say you only want to use part of the video, for example, not the entire thing. You can easily create an excerpt using the Trim Video command. Just look for the little green and red markers inside the dialog box. You can click and drag these to change the start and end times. I'm only going to use a few seconds from the end in this case. When you're done, click OK, and the video will be trimmed to the excerpt you chose. You can also add bookmarks to the video, which you can use to jump to specific points during your presentation. All you have to do is click the timeline to mark the point you want to use, then click the Add Bookmark command, and a little circle will appear. You can create as many bookmarks as you want. Now you can just click each bookmark when you want to jump to that part of the video. By default, when you're giving your presentation, you do have to click the video in order to make it play. What if you want it to start automatically as soon as you get to that slide? Just come up here to the Video Options group, choose Automatically from the Start menu, and that's all it takes. You can also set the video to play full screen, loop until you stop it manually, and more. I think I'd like to make some changes to the appearance of my video. We can do that by switching over to the Format tab. These options are very similar to what you get when you insert a picture in PowerPoint. For example, watch how easy it is to apply a different video style, which can add a border and other effects to the video. Another thing you can do is choose a different poster frame. That's the image the audience is going to see before you start the video. In this example, we've already set the video to play automatically, so the poster frame doesn't really matter. It's something to keep in mind, however, if you're going to be playing your video manually. So I think we're all set. To preview the video, why don't we start the presentation from the very beginning? There, that looks great. As you can see, you don't have to be an expert to add or edit videos in PowerPoint. You just have to know how to use the tools, and you can do all kinds of interesting things.
So we see we can even edit video within PowerPoint and customize its appearance, and trim videos, add a fade in, and much more. Now, some websites like YouTube allow you to embed videos into your slides. An embedded video will still be hosted on its original website, meaning the video itself won't be added to your file. And this is a great way to reduce the size of your file. However, you will need to keep in mind that you have to have an internet connection in order for the video to play. So if you're going to be doing your presentation someplace where you don't have access to the internet, that might not work so well. So PowerPoint gives you different themes that you can use when creating your slides. And a theme gives you a quick and easy way to change the design of your presentation. They control the primary color palette, basic fonts, slide layout, and other important elements. All of the elements of a theme will work well together, which means you won't have to spend as much time formatting your presentation. All themes included in PowerPoint are located in the Themes group on the Design tab. Themes can be applied or changed at any time. So you would just select the Design tab on the ribbon, then locate the Themes group. Each image represents a theme. Click the More drop-down arrow to see all available themes. Select the desired theme. The theme will be applied to the entire presentation. To apply a different theme, simply select it from the Design tab. So this will give your presentation, this helps keep your presentation cohesive and gives your presentation a more professional look. And you just saw a transition. So if you've ever seen a PowerPoint presentation that had special effects between each slide, you've seen slide transitions. A transition can be as simple as fading to the next slide or as flashy as an eye-catching effect. So let's watch this video about applying transitions to our presentations.
Goodwill Community Foundation, creating opportunities for a better life.
Have you ever seen a presentation that had special effects between each slide? If so, you've probably seen transitions in action. A transition can be as simple as fading from one slide to the next, or it can be a lot more flashy, like this animation of a bird. You can create all kinds of effects using the options on the Transitions tab. Start by selecting one of your slides, then click the arrow here to view all of your choices at once. Transitions are divided into 3 categories depending on the type of effect they use. The first category is subtle, followed by exciting, where you'll find more complex animations. And finally, there's dynamic content, which will affect only the content on your slides. This might include text and images, for example, but not necessarily the background. Generally speaking, we wouldn't recommend using too many transitions from the exciting category. Sure, they look a lot more interesting than the subtle or dynamic ones, but adding too many can make your presentation look unprofessional and, frankly, a little silly. Used in moderation, however, they can add a nice touch between important slides. Let's change this transition back to a subtle option. How about push? To play a transition again, all you have to do is click the preview command on the ribbon, or the tiny star that appears next to the slide. If you change your mind, you can easily remove the transition by going back to the menu and choosing None in the top left corner. I do like this transition, so I'm going to leave it applied. I would like to play with the timing though, and some of the other options over here on the right. For example, you can quickly customize the look of a transition by customizing its effects. Click the Effect Options command and choose the one you want from the menu. These options will vary depending on how the transition works, but in this example we'll select From Left, And now the slide appears from the left side instead of the bottom. The duration field lets you decide how long the transition will take. So if we change the length from 1 second to a half second, or 0.5 in this case, it'll cut the time in half and the transition will happen a lot faster. You can even add a sound to a transition using the drop-down menu here. Just click the one you want, and you'll hear what it sounds like the next time you play through your presentation. Again, we recommend a more subtle approach here. Adding a sound between every slide could easily become overwhelming or even annoying for your audience when presenting the slideshow. Like complicated transitions, sounds are really best used in moderation. I'd also like to show you the options under Advanced Slide. Here you can set your slides to advance automatically without having to click your mouse. This is primarily used for presentations that are going to be left unattended. For example, in the background at a special event or at a trade show booth or kiosk. To set the current slide to advance automatically, uncheck the box next to On Mouse Click, then check the box next to After. In the After field, type the amount of time you want the slide to be displayed. In this example, we'll set it to automatically after 1 minute and 15 seconds. At this point, you can select another slide and repeat the process until all of your slides have the transitions you want. Or you can use the Apply to All command if you want your presentation to be completely uniform. This will take all the settings you see here, including the timings and the transition effects, and apply them to every slide in the presentation. Let's go back to the previous slide and see how this transition looks in full presentation view. Okay, great. I think I'll apply the same effect to some of my other slides later on. The best way to learn about transitions is just to practice, so try using some with your own presentations.
So for transitions, you would select the slide that you want the transition to occur on. And this will be the slide that the transition will appear after the transition. So you click the Transitions tab, locate the transitions to this slide group. Click the More drop-down arrow to display all transitions, and then click a transition to apply it to the selected slide. And those can be fun to experiment with, but as he says, you don't want to do too many because it can get a little much after a while. Okay, and finally, printing. So even though PowerPoint presentations are designed to be viewed on a computer, there may be times when you want to print them. You can even print custom versions of a presentation, which can be especially helpful when presenting your slideshow. The print pane makes it easy to preview and print your presentations. So we can print pages with a full page slides. This layout is useful if you need to review or edit a printed copy of your presentation. The notes page, which prints the slides along with the speaker's notes. Outline, which is used to review the organization of your slideshow and prepare to deliver your presentation. And you have handouts, which are thumbnail versions of each slide with optional space for people to take notes. So let's take a look at printing.
Goodwill Community Foundation, creating opportunities for a better life.
PowerPoint presentations are designed to be presented to an audience, but sometimes you might need to print them too. That's why it's important to understand the basics of printing and also the options that are unique to PowerPoint. To get started, go ahead and navigate to the Backstage view, Then click Print in the left pane. Here you'll find everything you need to print your presentation, including a preview and a place to adjust your settings. Now we could just enter the number of copies we want and click the print button right away. But before we do that, why don't we take a look at some of the options below. If you're connected to more than one printer, for example, you can use the menu here to choose the one you want. You can also enter a custom slide range if you're working with a longer presentation and you only want to print certain slides. Otherwise, print all, the default option, should work just fine. Next up is page layout, where you can decide how your slides are going to be arranged on the printed page. Let's take a closer look at some of these options. Full page slides is the default. As you can see from the preview on the right, this will print each of your slides on its own separate page. If we click Notes page, on the other hand, the printout will include any notes that you've added to the slide, which makes it really easy to reference those while you're presenting. The next option is called Outline. This one is unique because it prints only the text from your slides instead of the slides themselves. Some presenters like to use this as a guide to help them remember the flow of their presentation. Finally, we have a wide variety of handouts to choose from. These work really well if you want to give your audience a hard copy of your presentation. I like the layout that has 3 slides because it includes space for people to write their own notes and comments. One of the last things I'm going to do is switch from full color to grayscale, which can really save on printer ink. When you're ready, go ahead and click the Print button at the top of the pane. And now you just have to wait for your presentation to finish printing.
And just a note, to get to that backstage view that he was talking about, you would go to the File tab and then select Print, and that takes you to what they call the backstage view. Okay, so once you've completed your putting together your slideshow, you'll need to learn how to present it to an audience. And there are several ways you can begin your presentation. You can use the Quick Access toolbar, which will be located at the top left-hand corner of the screen. You can use the slideshow view, which was located on the lower right-hand corner of the screen. Or you could go to the slideshow tab, and that's located on the ribbon, and that has even more access. That has even more options available to you for how your slideshow will be presented. And here, from there, you can select to start the presentation from the very beginning, or you can start the presentation from whatever slide that you are currently on. You advance to the next slide by clicking your mouse or pressing the space bar on your keyboard. You could also use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move forward or backward through your presentation. And then once your presentation is complete, you can either click on the last slide that you have, or you could click the escape button. And then that will take you to the end of your presentation. Let me do a quick search here because I wanted to give you the website address. Oops. Wanted to give you the website address of GCF Learn Free. And if you just type it in your Google search, it should come up for you. But it is stop presenting. Okay, it is, let me put it in the chat box here. So it's https://edu.gcfglobal.org/en/. And GCF Global has a lot of different tutorials available on their website for different software programs, things from using tablets to photography, all sorts of different subjects available, so it's worth checking out. And that is our presentation for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at Somerset County Library, and we will be happy to help you out. Thank you. Bye.